This podcast is powered by Masterpiece Kingdom Brands. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on our first episode of the Making a Masterpiece podcast. I am so excited to be with you today, and truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining me wherever you're listening and wherever you're tuning in from, whether you're driving or at the gym, working out, or cooking, or whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you so much for being here. And at the end of our conversation, I just want you to leave inspired, very encouraged, especially in the journey of being an entrepreneur, kingdom creative, and a business owner. So, yeah, being a masterpiece is a heart project of mine with the intention of to really helping and inspiring business owners and leaders that God is with us in our decisions, in our daily routines, and in the business that we're building and growing. And I know there are times that it can be so overwhelming. So we will all going to encourage each other and help each other out. And that is why this podcast is here for you. So to begin with, let me just introduce myself to those of you who are very familiar with who I am. My name is Norbert Elnar. I am Filipino. I was born and raised in Cebu City, Philippines. And currently I am living in Berlin, Germany with my lovely wife, Sophie. By profession, I am a branding expert. I've been in the creative business for quite some time. And I've also been in ministry for quite some time. In fact, I will say that I've started doing like proper, when I say proper, like, when you're like starting to be conscious about serving. When I was 12, I was volunteering in this little summer vacation school back in our church. And that's when I actually felt like I did something intentional for the Lord. And that's where I will say where I started my ministry as a young boy. And then creative wise, I started to just do some small projects for church. In fact, my first project was like a t-shirt for a children's camp. And then it eventually became my career. And then I went to a university. I took up fine arts in advertising, and I landed a job in a multinational advertising agency. And it was an incredible experience, starting from being a junior artist and then rising to becoming one of the lead creatives. Yeah, so I sort of breathe and eat branding for breakfast. That's a strong claim there, but yeah, that's really what I do. I love people, I love God, I love ministry, and I also love branding, and I love creative communication. So yeah, that's what I've been doing over this last few years. When you're working in an advertising agency, you get to be exposed in so many facets of the business, and particularly in communicating a brand, be it marketing, public relations, events, and all of these things contribute to a healthy brand. And I did enjoy my time in mainstream advertising, and I really learned a lot, and I had the opportunity to really work with the best creatives in my country, in our city, and get to learn from top-notch creative directors. And we got to compete in different creative competitions as well. So this period of my life was one of the most colorful and one of the best seasons that I also had. And in 2015, though, something happened, something shifted. I felt like there was something in me that didn't, how should I say that? Like there was something unsettling in me. And I did love my work so much. In fact, I was always conscious that I was blessed to have the dream job that people have. But there was something missing in that particular season of my life. And I thought it was just those quarter life crisis that they say. And so I decided to actually leave my job back then in the Philippines. And then I went to South Africa, particularly in Cape Town. And during this period of my life, I actually joined a leadership biblical studies kind of program with a church there. And this 1 year sort of like program became the game changer, really. I thought I was just going to be there for a year, but I ended up living in Cape Town for 4 years. And I was fully volunteering at this time, learning from the best leaders and being mentored by amazing, amazing teachers of the Bible and different, different leaders and meeting people from all over the world. And this just really, really changed my life. And part of the role I had in South Africa was building the brand of our nonprofit organization that I was part of. This organization was really responsible of moving forward the lives of the people that we serve there. And it was so interesting to me to be able to actually do what I love, which is branding and professional creative communications, mixing it with purpose. And in my head, because we're telling success stories of people that we're able to reach and serve in a very creative and excellent way, this made me realize that the power of branding, the power of telling a story is very, very crucial to the growth of the organization. And I know it seems so simple and mundane, but seeing it in action with the limited resources that we had, but with a full on team and the heart behind everything that we did, I was so shocked and I was so inspired in a way that this could achieve so many great things. And not just because we're putting out excellent material, we are actually impacting real lives of real people. And then that made me realize that, you know what, if this can be done, like there's a way to bridge purpose and business, and there's a way to communicate that properly to an audience. If only Christian entrepreneurs, lead and businesses are able to access this kind of professional creative communication, how different would it be in the marketplace? I've seen brands grow and I've seen them soar. I've also seen others drop. And a huge part of businesses and brands that fail is that they fail to communicate properly and they fail to communicate excellently. So I just said that because in my season in South Africa, I realized that being a creative person with this kind of background and knowledge means that I have a responsibility to help spread the gospel in the lens of creativity and professional communication. So I was able to learn that the hard way, and I'm sure I will have episodes to share more stories about how challenging these times were sometimes. But it was really one of the most defining moments of my life that I get to use my creative gift into something bigger and something greater than myself. So, yes, I learned that faith based and values oriented brands don't necessarily have access to professional communication. And that gap to me was a burden in my heart because I feel like the good guys don't have the right tools because of so many excuses, be it finances, be it resources, be it experience, and all these kind of things. So I tried and decided to develop this 6 module framework to help business owners like you understand what a healthy brand is and how you can leverage that to actually create impact, influence, and be profitable at the same time. So, this is why we have this podcast. Our goal here is to discover and learn together from the wisdom of the people who have succeeded in their businesses and in different spheres. We're here to be encouraged and we're here to inspire each other to grow our kingdom businesses together and to be better people and to be better Christians and to be better business owners. Sometimes we get so discouraged by what we see in the world right now. And when you're in business, you wear different hats, right? And sometimes it can be really discouraging if you see the numbers of the economy, the inflation, and the rising costs of everything. But when we are intentional in seeing the grace that's there right before us, and as we encourage each other, we inspire each other, we know that we're not alone in this journey. So that's why this podcast exists. And I also just want to share a few things in today's episode. I also just want to share a few practical things that I believe would help us move forward as business owners and as leaders. The good thing about being a masterpiece is we know that it doesn't happen overnight. None of these great masterpieces that we know from the greatest artists in the world was made overnight. It was a product of excellence for a long time. It's a product of so many mistakes along the way, misadventures, failures, seizures on the canvas. It's a work that's always on progress. And, as a masterpiece, while we're making a masterpiece, we are learning, we are growing in the process. And that's why I love that we get to do this together and we get to inspire and talk to each other about your business journey, about how we learn from other people's journey and what we can do and what we can take away from their experience into our business and grow our business and make real impact in our society. So first thing is this one. Leading a business or organization is like living by faith. As faith people, we know how it is to walk believing that God's going to do his part without even seeing anything yet. And I think as a business owner, we live like that every single day. We'll live by faith, right? You never know where the sale is coming from. I mean, the product you're selling, but you'll never know if you'll make the same amount of sales this month and this year and the next year. It's always a risk. There's always an aspect of faith. And as faith people, we know that leading our business cannot be done in our own strength, that we need God's help. We need God's wisdom. We need God's intervention all the time so that we're able to lead our people, we're able to serve our customers better, and we're able to grow not just as a person, but as a unit, as an organization. Secondly, your brand serves a greater purpose. Values driven businesses and businesses that reflect the culture of the kingdom are there for the long run. Let me say that again. Values driven businesses and businesses that reflect the culture of the kingdom are there for the long run. We know that it's not a sprint, but a marathon, right? We are there. We show up every day. We put our A game on. We know that we have a bigger purpose to fulfill more than a product to sell. When our team understands that and when we act from that perspective, it drives the business in a sustainable direction. So your brand serves a greater purpose. And this is one of my favorites and the mantra of Masterpiece Kingdom Brand. The strategy is scripture. God sets the direction for your business, and our obedience determines the speed of our progress and success. The strategy is always scripture, and I couldn't emphasize that more. And we're going to talk about so many situations in our upcoming episodes on why the strategy is scripture. This line has changed my life radically, and we've been helping business owners to really be true to the path that God has called them. And we're so happy to be able to share success stories also in the upcoming episodes. So speaking of the upcoming episodes, man, I cannot tell you how excited I am that we are able to hear and listen real stories from our amazing guests, from entrepreneurs, leaders, and creatives all over the world. I get the chance to interview them and ask them questions that I'm personally interested in, be inspired by their stories. And these guys are from unique backgrounds. They are real people. They have real struggles, but they also have real faith that has helped them through in every challenging situation for their personal lives and businesses. So, yeah, that's coming up in this season of our podcast. And I cannot wait to introduce them to all of you. That's coming up for this whole season. And oh man, we are in for an exciting and exhilarating ride. To wrap up this episode, let me reiterate the truths that we believe as kingdom brands and how we can actually set up ourselves for growth and for a better future. And one is that we lead our business like we're living by faith. Secondly, that our brand serves a greater purpose. And lastly, that the strategy is always scripture. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that you are inspired, encouraged, and I cannot wait what God is going to do in your personal life and in your business. So let's continue making a masterpiece, and I'll see you next time.